Celestina Ogishi-led judicial panel of inquiry into complaints of police brutality and related extrajudicial killings in Delta State. Okuwa said he was eager to receive the report as it would give him an ample opportunity to feel in real terms the extent the people suffered at the hands of security agencies before setting up a human rights complaint team.
Father, we have accepted that something went wrong and that we need, as we ought to sympathize with the families and to lend a helping hand to them. I do pray that we'll continue as a people.
The panel found cases of police brutality and or related extrajudicial killings established against some police officers and recommended payment or compensation to the victims or their families, where the victims had been extrajudicially killed by police officers.
The Nigerian government has been told to address issues of social injustice and others push factors that are responsible for separatist agitations across Nigeria. Justice Alaba Akinleye of the Kogi State Judiciary, who was a guest speaker at the Law Students Association Week held at Salem University, Lokoja, suggested a multi-dimensional approach at addressing terrorism in Nigeria.
Until the root causes that make Nigeria a fertile ground for terrorism, such as poverty, joblessness, unresolved conflicts, social injustice, and corruptions are addressed, we may have to contend with the monster called terrorism and banditry for a very long time to come. The legislation that was required to be enacted, the swift actions that were required to be taken, they were not taken. We treated some of the terrorists then with kid gloves, and things continue to degenerate.
You know, where people believe that they have been sidelined in the affairs of the nation, of course, the only way they would voice out will be through agitations.
Me, I believe there would have to be a rearrangement of the whole judicial body, the whole executive body, the whole arms of government. There would have to be a scrutinization of everything.
The All Progressives Congress APC has postponed its congresses from ward to national level indefinitely. This was contained in a letter dated July 6, 2021 and addressed to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and signed by the chairman and secretary of the APC Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, Governor Mai Malabudi and Senator John James Akpanudode. New dates will be communicated subsequently. Nigeria's 2023 presidential elections is still more than a year away, but the debate over what region or zone the next occupant of Aso Rock should come from seems to be gaining a lot of currency and generating hot discourse. The question on the program tonight is zoning the presidency the best course of action in the quest for nation building and unity, restoring peace and security, as well as quieting agitations and separatist movements, or is it good for the delivery of good governance? Join us again after this time out for our conversation.
When the issues are critical, germane to Nigeria's democratic process,
politicians can only be seen maybe on television by judges. They should not intermingle, because once you intermingle, then you destroy the systems.
When the personalities are big, important to national discourse.
When you reach certain stage of power and you demonstrate arrogance to the extreme, there's no other thing that will happen to you around to fall.
When the developments are seemingly complex, confounding like a 1,000-piece jigsaw, that's when we require bold, sound, and analytical minds to help put the pieces together. Jigsaw with Benga Arileba, now showing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. on AIT. Jigsaw, demystifying the issues.
It is Democracy Today, and as you can expect, issues of Nigeria's politics and development form our focus. Welcome back. Does the region, a president, governor, or elected official matter? Yes, in Nigeria it does. And that is the short answer. Is it that simple? No, it is not, and a lot of questions arise. The 2023 presidential election is almost upon us, and the latest to stake their claim to the highest office is governors of the southern Nigeria. At the last meeting of the 17 governors from the region, which held in Lagos, the governors of southern states agreed that the next president of the country must come from the south. Since that declaration contained in the communique that was released, it has courted controversy. Some of the voices that have advocated for the presidency to be zoned to the south, including Governor Zulum of Borno State, have not fully changed their tune, but they have been quick to remind the governors that it is not a must. Another governor who has not hidden his intention or ambition for the top job, Governor Bello of Kogi State, has sought to remind the southern governors that zoning is not constitutional. For yet another section of Nigerians, the country needs a leader who will unify the country and move it forward. Therefore, merit and qualification should throw up Nigeria's next leader. On the program tonight, we examine the various viewpoints, and for that I am joined by Yaba Gisani. He's the former presidential candidate and as well the national chairman of the ADP. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. And also joining him in the studio is Chief Chidozie Zugwa, a political analyst. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good evening, Nigerians.
All right. Welcome to both of you, gentlemen. And so I'll just begin with Mr. Sani, and let's take it from here. Return of democracy in 1999, and the fact that we had a president from the south who ruled for 8 years, or who led for 8 years, and handed over to the north. He went to select a northern candidate, and it happened the way it happened, as life would have it, and then a southern candidate, and then today we have a northern candidate. And this has created a lot of tension for people, and that is partly what has formed, the desire for who should come or who should emerge in 2023. Some of the arguments I've read and that are in the public domain is that the southern Nigeria has spent more years in presidency than the northern Nigeria. In fact, they say the northern Nigeria had just one president, while the southern Nigeria had two presidents. And they recognize that, of course, former President Umaru Yar'Adua was there in office, but he didn't serve out his term. And so this debate continues to rage on. And as 2023 comes closer, we know that it will get hotter. So you who also ran for president, can you let us into what are your thoughts on the zoning controversy?
Well, thank you very much. As a Nigerian, I believe that we are running a constitutional democracy, and which means that whatever we are doing, we have to be guided by the Constitution. And the Constitution of the country says that you can only serve 2 terms, as a president or governor, as the case may be. And in our own particular case in this country, yes, in 1999, we had a president from the south, in the person of President Olusegun Obasanjo, who served 8 years, and after him, President Yar'Adua came in, of blessed memory, who served only 2 years. And of course, in accordance with the Constitution and doctrine of necessity at that time, introduced by the National Assembly, we now had President Jonathan, who served 6 years. So if you add, and then of course the issue now is where now we now have President Muhammadu Buhari, who by the grace of God by 2023 would have served his 8 years also, together. Okay, the question now is, where should the presidency go? Yes, by convention and by our own arrangements, an attempt to introduce stability in the country, because we recognize the fact that Nigeria is a collection of nations, and we have various beliefs, cultural differences and things like that. And the fact that what has been introduced is rather a way to appeal to certain sentiments, regional sentiments, religious sentiments, and other dichotomies that really do not have anything to do with good governance. And of course, we are living with that. But if you look at what that has taken us to, it has not moved the needle yet, and we want to develop this country at a faster rate than we are developing today. And perhaps one of the reasons why we are where we are today is because we have thrown away issues of credibility, competence, and then we are just, like I said, being held back by these sentiments. Yes, the 1,000 governors came together and they made their own pronouncement, which to some of us was not in tandem with what you would have expected of elected, state actors, as the way they put it.
But
I will have no reasons.
Opinion anyway.
Pardon?
Their opinion and position.
Yeah, but you would have expected them to be the stabilizers in this situation. They should have a better way of addressing such issues. I have no problems with the cultural organizations, like Afenifere, the Pandem, the Ohana Ize, coming out to say we must have presidency. We must have presidency by 2020. It's okay, because these are cultural organizations. Like you had in 2015, when the Northern Elders came out and said that they also want presidencies to be zoned to the North. It's okay, but you didn't have governors from the North coming together to say you must give us presidency, because they realize the fact that they are representing not only the North, but the entire country. Once you are elected as a governor, it's not, yes, you may be operating your state, but the Constitution recognizes you as somebody that's expected to ensure that we have peace and unity in this country. Yes, you are in the custody of that very, very important requirement for a nation like Nigeria. And my take is that even if you now say, okay, let's look at zoning, and you look at the constitutional, arrangement that you must have 8 years, the intention of PDP, where zoning was pronounced, I'm not aware that APC, declared zoning in their constitution. So also my party, Democratic Party, we don't have zoning. We only recognize equity. We recognize performance with competence.
So the point therefore is that zoning is not a constitutional arrangement.
No,
it's a gentleman agreement that, of course, some political parties have made part of their constitution, and is within the party's rights.
Yes, to do that. Yes. But even at that, if you look at the constitutional arrangement, which says 8 years, by now, today, by the time Buhari is completing his 8 years, North would have done only 10 years. And by that time, South would have done 14 years. So which means North still has 4 years to go, if you have to go even by that arrangement, of the gentleman arrangement.
Is it a matter, I'll come to you, Mr. Azugwa, but let me just, is it a matter of the number of years spent? Is it a matter of equality now, or is it a matter of just gentle rotation? It goes here, it goes there.
No. In the PDP, they realize the fact that the Constitution allows, a person as the president to rule for 8 years. And they said, and that's why they said 8 years, in the South, and then 8 years in the North. That was the expectation. That's why they had that agreement. So even if you have to go by that, even if you have to go by that arrangement, still, the North still has 4 years to go before you can now say you should go to the South. But for me, I would rather have a president that will deliver the dividends of democracy, will solve the problems we are battling with today, for insecurity, retrogression, and disunity, restiveness, and everything that we are battling with, which is because why we have bad governance. There's no governance in this country. So I would rather go for a president that I know is competent, it can deliver, regardless of where he is from. It's not whether he's a Christian or Muslim or Southerner or Northerner. That is beside the point. And until we rise, to that level in this country, looking at people from their competence, not from where you come from, I think we'll still be in this rigmarole. That it's still a vicious cycle. So my take is that we shouldn't overheat the polity. We should allow political parties to come out with who is going to represent them. Then after that, then you can now decide. If the political party, if they bring out all their candidates from the South, fine. By the constitutional arrangement, the electors will have no choice but to vote for that.
Exactly. So if
the political parties decide to bring somebody from the North, and the Constitution says the only way you can have access to the governance is through a political party presenting you. So I think that we don't even need to overheat the polity and then create unnecessary problems for ourselves.
Okay.
If anything, it should happen within the political parties.
Let's bring Chief Ezugwa into the conversation at this point. Chief, what's your own take on some of the issues that have been thrown up from himself? He has said, in a way, we should leave the process open. Do not overheat the polity. What's your perception of the issues that are in controversy at this time?
Thank you. You know, this gentleman, agreement was as a result of issues that concerned the June 12. Immediately after the death of the Sani Abacha, and then there is this arrangement by the then military head of state, Absalom Abubakar, to prepare and return the country to the civilian democracy. And the other politicians now came up and begin to look at the problems, what can create problem in the future, the power, shares. That G34 was headed by Dr. Lex Ekweme. And this is just a gentleman understanding, and it helps. That's created a kind of opportunity to bring President Obasanjo to assuage the people from the Southwest. And on the process, they negotiated that even though it didn't, contain in our constitution, but within the PDP, understanding, and it helps. So after the Obasanjo's, tenure, then nobody, come to contest against Yeredua, but naturally it must return to the north based on those understanding. So Yeredua now took over as the president. I was sworn in. Then, unfortunately, death comes calling, and he gave up. Nobody expected that he's going to, die. But once it happens, the opportunity of the VP taking over came in, and using the doctrine of necessity to swear Jonathan in as the president. Now, at the end of their tenure, because the two of them in those days, it should be looked at as sharing the same distance, because two of them run the campaign. At the end of the tenure of the Yeredua, still the Yeredua's tenure, which Jonathan completed, it becomes necessary for the incumbent, Jonathan, to recontest on behalf of the South. Then say agreement, decide to recontest again, having won the elections, and they continue. But toward the tail end of his administration, a lot of things came up. North was so much agitated that they must have power back, to the extent that even people working with him within the presidency and the political parties, including the members of the PDP, the top stalwarts of the PDP, all of them begin to pile pressures and this. Now, at the end of the day, you see how all of them cross-coupled to the APC, including their governors. So there's a lot of things, and nobody should come and begin to pretend that these things are not there. It's there. And it's the only way to stabilize this country, the Nigerians. It's the only way to bring about all different ethnic nationalities that makes Nigerians on board. That when we're trying to run a kind of inclusive government, then people will begin to develop trust that one day they might be there. And that, I think that is the understanding the PDP as a political party have then, and is working at. So the taking over, or the failing for the 2015 election created another problem again, because if Jonathan has completed, it will be very clear for the North to come in and continue. This time around, we are not talking about when nature comes calling. You can't question God why it happens anyway. So we are not trying to calculate that you have had, the South has had 14 years, North have had 10 years. If we are to go through the very process, from the military era, you can't say the number of Southerner that is the military head of state. But all the military head of state has been always from the north.
So in fact, you are taking it quite a number of years back, even up to 1960s.
Of course. That's what I'm trying to let you understand. So we are not going to start counting whether he has stayed in the south 14 years or staying in north 10 years. It doesn't have anything to meaning.
So from the southeast where you are from, you are coming there, fine. So the point for many people is that at this time we should also be moving towards presidency of the southeast.
That is
for stabilization, which you mentioned.
Yes.
And all of these arguments and conversations are of course going to come up.
Yes.
So go ahead.
So that's why I'm saying let nobody bring that sentiment. Of course, the northern governors have been meeting. They are meeting in different time without number, based on the problem they have. And once the southern governors have a meeting, I don't see this uproar. People trying to create a kind of impression on necessary things. They have come unite to say this is what we want and this is where we are going. How can you change the goalposts at the middle of the game? The issue now they are now talking about is that there is no need for the zoning again. That should open. Allow the voting open. You forget the powers of incumbents. You must allow, for the purpose of peace, you must allow the zoning to complete. We have 6 geopolitical zones. That must be allowed to flow. Then if we agreed that we are going to renegotiate, have a dialogue and restructure this country, then we will come back together to decide. When the zoning now comes down to the south, we will now decide based on the micro zoning, which zone, geopolitical zone that is going to take over. And these issues of the zone has helped us, we that is in the south, even within the states, we zone our governorship from north, central, and south. Take for instance, in Anambra State now, we zone all the offices. The governorship is now in the south because the present governor is from the north. So he has moved down to the south. Whether other political parties, take it or not, the people the stakeholders, the people that is going to perform the magic are there that have already understand that we have zone. And it has helped us to stabilize the political space there.
All right, so let's take this up with Mr. Sani. Mr. Sani, what he's saying, of course, here is that zoning also has its positives, and that zoning can also provide stabilization, right? And he has also introduced the fact that even at the state levels, zoning too has also become a policy for governors and for almost all the political positions that are available. And so the question, therefore, is now at the presidential level, the challenge goes beyond not just north and south. It also now goes down to the 6 geopolitical zones of who emerges next. And probably it might get to a point in Nigeria that we might talk about which local government will the president come from. So is there an end to this? And on the other leg, can competency really, can it not be found, or can it be found within the zoning arrangement?
Well, I believe that my colleague here has said that you want to look at it beyond 1999. And if you do that, zones like North Central will say that we are not being given
exactly. That's also coming to that.
For a civilian administration, we have never headed one before. Not even a vice president, was given to North Central. So this time around, North Central can come forward and say, well, we, in the reign of equity and fairness, look at us. We constitute a large, percentage of Nigeria actually. So the issue now, you are talking about merit. I think if we allow politicians to do it in the sense of having political parties to now come up with their representatives, their candidates, perhaps to help the country, a lot, because I have seen how divisive, this issue has become. And I have seen that it has even made people that should look at things from the national perspective are looking at it from the narrow perspective of the zone. Take, for instance, an important economic decision that was made by the National Assembly as regards, these frontier basins. It's been politicized, simply because people have these misgivings that, the frontier basins are only in the north. It is not. in fact, if you look at it critically, the South, stands to benefit from frontier basins than even the North, because you have Anambra Basin, which covers, Enugu, Anambra. You have the Dahomey Basin, which covers Lagos and also Ogun State and some part of the Southwest. And you have even Niger Delta today, even the offshore. You have some places in the offshore which data is not available today. So, and when you look at the North, actually, the only zone that in the North that may benefit, appreciably is the Middle Belt, because the three basins are all in the Middle Belt. So when you look at these things, when the politics that of zoning, because I heard that the governors, when they met, they came to Abuja here to tell their senators to go back on what they have agreed already on the 30% profit from the NNPCL, to be used to develop the frontier basins. So you can see how obstructive or how divisive the issue of politics can be. Even the governors themselves that will benefit from it, like the governor of Lagos State, he stands to benefit more from that frontier basins. Governor of Ogun State will benefit more. And Enugu State governor will benefit more. Anambra governor will benefit more. But because zoning, they are not thinking. So the point I'm trying to make is that we should please, be guided by that constitution that we have, which says only political parties can present candidates. So go and do your work, do your homework within the political parties. Don't disturb the electorates, with your diatribes, of where the president comes from. We already have an arrangement, which does not really accommodate all this noise making that we're engaged in. Do your homework, go into your parties, make a lot of noise in the parties, make sure your person emerge at the end of the day as the candidate for whichever zone. But like I said, I think what should be the guiding principle here is who can deliver. Nigeria needs to move forward, and it's not by the man who is a Yoruba man, or who is a Hausa man, who is a Nupe man, or who is a Chekiri or something. No, it's by that person who can really deliver. We should begin to look at this country as a country that is of greatness, because we have everything that it takes. We have resources, we have human capital, we have the size, we have the population, we have the GDP that is waiting to be engaged. It's such a promising nation that we are wasting everything on the altar of politics. That is the man who is from my place that can be the president before we can make progress. That to me is regressive. We should think positively, progressively, so that we can move forward.
But some people, especially the fact that you mentioned North Central, I said I was coming to that, but some people from North Central and for those also from the Southeast will disagree with you. They'll say, why is it when it looks like it might be coming towards us that we are then saying, jettison this will not work, and all of these conversations, that let us keep it open and all of those.
The point I'm making is that let them go to the political parties and jettison whatever they want to jettison, or embrace whatever you want to embrace. What the electorates are waiting for is, show us your candidate, and they will line up and they vote for whoever you bring up. So there's no need for this noise making. Really, that's the point I'm trying to make. Okay. We shouldn't lose sight of the biggest issue, in front of the country, which is how to move this economy forward. Look at banditry. Look at the unemployment. Look at killings. Look at the kind of crisis we're having in the country, only because we have failed to develop this economy. Look at the debts we are piling up. Look at the inflation. Look at everything that's surrounding us that we have no business with. So we should please, start thinking of how to move this country forward. And if you have something to talk about politics, the constitution, that's why I began by telling you that we are operating a constitutional democracy. Of course. It's not something that you go outside and start making noise. No. Go into your parties, work very hard, get them to put the person you want there, so that you can now go around the nation and canvass for him. You can't put the cart ahead of the horse. All right.
Let's bring in Chief Ezugwa. There's also an element to this conversation, the fact that it doesn't, at the end of the day, matter where the president comes from, because if you even look at, for those we have had between 1999, the fact that this so-called community has the president in as to say this is ours has not necessarily translated to development in those communities as well.
No, what I'm particularly concerned is justice and equity. Okay. That's very important. It doesn't matter the politics anybody want to play on it. The meeting the governors of the South held in Lagos is also a politics. And the ones that are criticizing them, some set of people that is criticizing their meetings, it's also they are just, trying to play politics too. So whatever, it might lead out of it, I feel that they have done what they're supposed to do. This is the time to obey gentleman's understanding they have. Must allow that. Whoever is going against it, that person is not trying to be fair. We shall be proud to say, I am in a country where there is justice and equity. At this dying minute, you are now shifting the goalpost just to enable you score a point. It's not proper. Understanding we have from the beginning. How long is this supposed to run? It must get to the last 6 geopolitical zones. Okay. Then before we now return back, if we can, return back and begin to, look at the problem. Look at the problem of Nigeria. The problem of Nigeria is so huge that we have, I don't know why people are trying to dodge the way, trying to move away from it. Each time you mention about restructuring this country, about having a dialogue, about having a kind of summit where we discuss our problems, bring all the ethnic nationalities that made up Nigeria for us to discuss our problem and find a solution to it. But each time you mention this, a certain set of people will now feel, you are now trying to undermine the authority, you are now trying to, destabilize the nation. How can you talk about the nation when there is a lot of crisis in this country? Banditries, terrorists, the herdsmen, everywhere, agitations. How do you find a solution? We are talking about 2023 election. How are we sure that 2023 election, there will be election? Let's us hope, because I'm a human being, I will always have that hope. But what I cannot guarantee you today, if the government cannot find solution to that, is the issue of insecurity. Insecurity is a very, very major problem. We'll definitely come to that before we tend to play it down. We'll definitely come to that before the end of the program. Now, what I'm trying to say is that there must be, politicians must respect that gentleman understanding. Okay. So, Mr. Yabagi-san, let's take it off from there and to say, what really is the place of lobbying and horse trading in all of these engagements and in all of this? Because you have also said the Southern governors didn't have to come out and put all of that in the public space. They could have probably discussed it within themselves and probably found a way within the political parties that, because the Southern governors even come from 2 different political parties, as it was. So find a way to work all of that within their system. So the point therefore will be, what is the place of lobbying, horse trading, as well as also look at the fact that there's also one of the reasons why zoning, the conversation gets hotter, is also because of voting populations that both the North and South carry, and how this plays out, the dynamics this plays out. And also the fact that, the constitution which you have mentioned requires that 1/3 from 2/3. You understand all of this? So all of this are part of the reasons why this conversation has become very interesting at this point. So what are your own perceptions on some of this?
If you are familiar with the congresses, conventions by political parties, you will agree with me that we are just putting the cart before the horse. These governors, they control the parties. They always work out these things before even the convention starts, from what I know. So why come to disturb Nigerians? What you want to do. Why not wait when you are going to your conventions? Whoever you want to bring out, you bring that person out. Not now. Don't overheat the polity. That's the point I'm making. Because all this noise we are making will amount to nothing. If end of the day in your conventions you didn't bring out somebody that agrees with what some of you are talking about. So it's that's why I say it's a constitutional democracy. We have to be guided by the constitution, which also introduces the political parties, arrangement. So these issues, to me, they are not for now. Especially for the governors, I have no qualms with the cultural organizations, or these pressure groups, coming out to say this is what we want. Fine, it's okay. But governors, they know what to do, in conventions, in congresses. So So I don't know why they decide to now bring issues that have no relevance, as far as we are concerned, where it is in their own purview, as they always do it. That's the point I'm talking about. Unless if they have another agenda, against this country, because I see them as people working against the interests of the country. Why disturb people that have no relevance in what you are going to do?
But don't you see the point that they might probably be setting an agenda in the way and manner they have come out to put some of their thoughts on?
You don't have to overheat the polity. But you don't have to. You have to
interpret it differently.
You don't have to come out and start saying things to. It's like you are just.
Let me say something. If people trying to play a trick, they introduce one kind of excuses, that they don't have to, when will it be? When will be the normal time to talk about politics? We have less than 2 years, 1 year plus, to main presidential election, 2023. We know what is happening. Himself is a former presidential candidate within his party. You know that an average politician think about tomorrow,
the next election.
He began early enough to begin to work against it. The North concluded, some of them, not all of them, to be honest with you. Otherwise, the governor of Borno State saw it as a reasons that it's wise that the power must shift to the south. Unify the same thing, maintain the same thing, and when some other governors are applying the same thing and saying that time has come for the power to shift. In those days, I know the time of Yeredoas, they were agitating that the power must, Obasanjo took it as a elder statement to maintain that gentleman's agreement that the power will return to the North. Why the people are now coming out at this period to say that because the southern governors have taken a decision, this is what the people begin to question the authority? These are elected people. They know, even the president himself, through the works of the governors of the state, that they can gather the vote that makes the president. Why shouldn't somebody begin to question what they have said? Each time the southern governors came to take a decision on certain issues that concern us, if somebody somewhere will be questioning why today. Nobody have the monopoly of this to decide. We are together. If we agreed that we are one, we must live as one. We must bring others. Most others believe within themselves they are part and parcel of the political process. All the ethnic nationalities that makes Nigeria must be inclusive in that project. Nobody will come and start telling us how to say Nigeria. Why should do this? Why should it be asking why?
Okay, so Mr. Stanley, for you believe that governance should take precedence over politics, and that's not a school of thought you are alone in, and so you believe it is early, and here's something he referenced, and it's in the news as well, that the 2023 elections that we are talking about and looking forward to may not hold, given the security climate we have as it is. So what's your response, and what should government be doing differently to put all of these problems, quench all of these fires, and ensure that in 2023 we can have the elections that we require?
Well, people would say that 2023 may not materialize, perhaps not being sincere. They should understand that a lot of water has passed under the bridge, and this is politics. What do you expect them to do? Because of the noise making that you say that 2023 may not materialize, or because of what? This country has a lot of settled issues. I don't look at what is happening today as determinant of whether or not 2023 will materialize. That's already in the Constitution. There's a constitutional provision that says 2023 must take place, and I don't see, what is happening today as something that's beyond, our control as a nation, So, and if 2023 will not materialize, that's why I told you the other time, I said the governors are behaving as people who have a different agenda than to ensure that 2023 materializes, because they know better what to do. What the governors should have done, to me, was in that their gathering, 17 of them, what they should have told the Nigerians is that we are now going to go to our brothers in the north, and campaign, appeal to them, call as
lobbying
to lobby them,
okay.
to come with us. Not threatening, not saying must. Who are you to say must? The Constitution already has taken care of this. So which means you don't have a must. Must doesn't exist. What exists is persuasion. If they had come together and like they did, they say, well, we want to go to our brothers in the north, we want to reach out to them, to appeal to them, to understand
some governors
why we want this.
Prior to now, even before the southern governors came, have already yielded the ground, if you say so.
Who are the governors?
There's never a time they use that word. They use that word. Go and read the communique. There's no must on that word. There's no should. Go and check that.
A lot of people are interpreting it as
the body language says differently. It still talks about when in their communique, a lot of things that they put out there were all against the North.
That's not mention all those things.
Is that your reading of it?
That's my reading of it.
Okay, mention those things. Let us know and look at it.
For instance, they say they are rejecting the 30%.
Must it be? This is the democracy. If you now the National Assembly come up with something that people, we are talking about. They're talking about the communities, the people that is involved, the stakeholders on this project.
Yes.
You don't have to ignore them. You must listen to them. Take for instance again, in the Electoral Act now, we are telling us that somebody doctored the Electoral Act.
Speculation.
That's speculation. Yeah, that's speculation. The Speaker of the House
that is how to be
pressured for him to come out to say that as long as he that he's still holding a copy of the last submission deadline, and on that copy, that is where he stands. But in the Senate, that's where that thing is doctored. That about eight of them have been doctored.
The point which Mr. Sadi is making is that we can't actually verify some of all these claims in the public space.
Elected governors cannot come out on the basis of speculation and making pronouncements that will create crisis for the country.
Okay, let us see how it goes.
Elected governors, they have ways by which they can confirm these things. They don't have to come and disturb the masses. When they understand how tense their environments are in terms of crisis, you come out again as governors that people are expected to come out with things that will unite us and begin to say we don't like this, we disagree because it's an attempt to only grow one part of the nation and something like that. That is unbecoming of governance as far as I'm concerned.
Let me ask this question.
Yes.
Does anyone from any part not have the right to just make a demand on the presidency?
Like I said, Afenifere, Ohana-Ize, Arewa,
yes, all of that, yes.
All those cultural organizations, they have the right to come out, address the press, and state what they want for their people, but not the governors. Governors have better, ways of doing this, more effective ways of doing this. That's the point I'm making. They are supposed to be the stabilizers. They are the ones that people should run to, to protect the country.
So at the end of the day, one point Mr. Sani has made as well is the fact that the people who of course, Nigerians are the ones having this debate at this time. But the fact is that at the end of the day, the people will have to settle for whoever emerges from the political parties, right? So be that as it may, whatever they decide to come up with their candidates, it doesn't really affect the everyday Nigerian because not everybody can be part or is part of the electoral process at the time. So how therefore does zoning therefore affect the ordinary Nigerian in terms of his choice?
Let me tell you something. During the MPN days, party supremacy matters. The chairman, the National Working Committee, the party, caucus, they have the powers. President, they can call the president order. You cannot ignore them. But these days, the leader of the party is either the state governor or the president. He decides what happens and uses the powers of incumbents, change a lot of things. And somebody will be telling me that you should allow this to decide. President has the influence to decide what happened in the party as it is now. If the president decides that the national chairman of the party must be removed, he must be removed. So
and
most of the people...
You prefer us to go back to a time of when the party had
Yes,
power.
we must return. That is why we are saying that we need to have that dialogue. We need to have the restructuring. Let us begin to repackage the political system we are going to have. Power belongs to people. People decide what... Because if you are going to... Well, you can't be in the government without getting a decent power from the people. People decide who is going to be the leader.
So the point is that
when you now decide
with zoning, do the people get the right to choose their leader?
When you now decide using their powers of incumbency, those in the government, that is why today all the political parties, name them all, none have internal democracy. They're always in position of this person or this person against the will of the people. And once that is done, there's a lot of consequences that comes up. Now in Anambra State, all the political party has about multiple candidates.
Of course.
Now all of them are in the courts, fighting to decide.
ADP has only one.
Well, I don't know. I don't know whether ADP have. You can see the level of influence they have on the political parties. They cannot decide. So that is why the governors knows this thing quite all right. And that is why they are crying. We started to see it. All the stakeholders. So we are not telling us for somebody to come out and start telling you, why not allow the party or the political party to decide who comes and all those things? No. My brother, we have to tell ourselves the truth. No. Unless we return back to that system, that NPP era, and trying to make the party to be strong, and let the party decide who is going to be their leader, at any distance.
Should we be advocating for more Nigerians to become part of political parties so that they can therefore influence who actually becomes their leader, instead of where you hear in position of candidates and the parties then making the decision for who becomes president or governors at the end of the day?
Certainly we need to mobilize people, more people to be interested in who will decide their future, their fate. So, and that's by belonging to political parties. Make sure you don't just fold your hands and stand watching what is going to happen. Get involved, because if you don't get involved, it's going to affect you, your children, your children's children, generations get involved. By those that you say, well, let them do it. So I think you are right. We must mobilize people to be more interested in what is happening to us. And then by the submission of my colleague that he said the governors, the presidents are the ones in charge today, isn't it? Mm-hmm. In PDP, I don't think they have a president yet. Now, they have governors. In APC too, like you know, the president, yes, may want to have something, but he has to walk through the governors also before he gets his way through. So which means that these governors who are coming to disturb Nigerians can solve the problems within their political arrangements. They don't have to come and overheat the polity and get Nigerians to start killing themselves, start hating themselves more than we are hating each other now. When you come out and you say, I don't like the North, I don't like this thing to go to the North, it must be this, it must be that. We are going to bar some people from coming to our zones. What are you telling the country for God's sake? No. So what I'm saying, when you say there are divisive, things that, so many things in that communique that a governor should not come out to talk about those things in the open. They can have their way in a much more civilized way that they have. It's provided for them. Which governor cannot get an appointment with the president? If it means so, why can't the 17 of them go and say, Mr. President, we want to see you, because we have a problem which we want to discuss with you. Mr. President is duty bound to listen to them, whether he likes it or not. It's not Nigerians that you come and tell that you must have this must happen, that must happen, the North should not develop. What do they say? It's a wrong signal actually. Because Nigerians are aware that this frontier basin, 30%, which you say you are against, is in their favor. Although too is in your favor too, because if the oil is in the exclusive list of the list of the Constitution, so even if oil is found in the North, it belongs to everybody in this country. But simply because we have 5 basins in the North, inland basins, that today are not producing, and you have 3 basins in the South which are producing, then because this frontier thing will now develop all the basins, and then the country will be better off for it. But simply because it did not, they now come out and say we don't. They don't stop at that.
We'll come to
they now came back. They even ran back to Abuja.
We'll come to
drive down home that how they hate the North. Is that a wrong signal? And the same people you want to go to, in a few months' time, that give me your vote.
The governors there, if you let me come.
You're not in power yet. If you let me you are so hateful.
Allow me to interrupt you. So if we come in, from what we have is in the public space, the governors never put it this way you are saying it, and I think that we can see that this is your interpretation of it.
No.
And it's an interpretation that's also
nobody in this country,
because we are running out of time,
that they say that 30% provision of the profit from the NNPC.
It is within their rights.
And it is
it is within their rights to disagree as it is.
They didn't stop at even saying it. They went to National Assembly, gave that all their that is a wrong signal. I'm saying it's bad. It's not good for them.
That's the final point of our conversation.
If you want to rule the country, why take sides? Why show?
Yes, we'll bring you in now. But the point is that democracy allows for multiplicity of voices, right?
Yeah.
And in the situation we find ourselves, it's going to be difficult to find a consensus, but we'll have to do it in the interest of this nation. So what is the way?
The way out is for us all, especially politicians, the political elites. The common man, if you go to Lagos or the markets, even Gariki here, they don't differentiate. They look at themselves as brothers and sisters. But it's still the same politicians that are creating this problem. Why is it that the meeting the governors of the South have in Lagos is causing problem? Why? We are trying to find a solution to our problems. But the Northeast have their own meeting. The governors of the Northeast have their own meeting. If that meeting can generate and create a distance for us to find our way out, because at the moment now we have problem. That's why I was telling you, but my co-guest here was saying that the Constitution is there, that nothing will stop the 2023 election. But you have to assess what is already on the ground. How are we finding a solution to that? You're talking about these issues of frontier basing something now, 30%.
Yeah, we'll come to that in another conversation on the program.
This is a fraud. We have to look at it. Well, the community that is agitated from this Niger Delta, you are giving them 3%. Have you been able to go to Niger Delta? You are deprived of drinking water, you are deprived of environment, you are deprived of farming. Oh man, we are human beings. How should people be questioning like that, as if to say you are giving them their own ration? These are their communities. So what I'm trying to say is that if we are within ourselves, if we don't want to be honest enough, that's where we have problem. But as long as we agree that we are going to be together, and let there be justice and equity.
All right, I think that's a fantastic place for us to leave it on the program. It's of course a contentious issue. I will still come back to it, and some of the issues you raised that have been left untouched for today because our focus was to be on zoning. So we'll come back to these issues as Democracy Today comes back again on Sunday and subsequently. So I just like to thank the two gentlemen that have been our guests in the studio today, Yaba Gisani, former presidential candidate, as well as the national chairman of the ADP. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
We've also had the pleasure to have Chief Chidozie Ezugwa, a political analyst. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Nigeria.
All right, and thanks to you, the viewer who has been part of the program today. We'll definitely come back again at 10 p.m. on Sunday. Make it a date with us. My name is Society Yari. Enjoy the rest of your night.
As the world gradually returns to normal following the disruptive effects of the coronavirus pandemic, medical attention refocuses on old ailments the world has been grappling with. That is why AIT's special health program, COVID Digest, is transmuting to Health Digest to bring solutions to all your health needs. AIT's Health Digest brings to you the latest developments, reports, and analysis on topical issues that concern your health. Watch Health Digest, showing on AIT every Wednesday and Friday at 6 p.m.
Benjamin